Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is very exciting and special because it is my first video of the new year. One of my bigger goals for this year is to unlock my full potential and just become the best version of myself that I can be. So I decided to start the new year off by challenging myself to do shadow work for 30 days straight. I feel like this really sets the tone for the new year and just kickstarts my healing journey. If you're unfamiliar with shadow work, I will leave the definition here on the screen, but in my own words, your shadow is a part of you that is composed of parts of your character or events that you suppress either consciously or subconsciously. It could be things like trauma responses, toxic traits, just parts of ourselves that we generally tuck away from other people and sometimes ourselves. And that's usually done as a coping mechanism or a protective mechanism. But shadow work is all about bringing those things to the surface so you could heal, reflect, and grow from them. I am pretty familiar with shadow work. I have done it before. I used to do it kind of regularly, maybe about a year ago. I would do it multiple times a week, but at this point I kind of only do it when I feel called to it, which in all honesty is sometimes twice a month, maybe even once a month. So I really want to do this challenge just to get deeper into my healing and just evolve. My personal favorite way to do shadow work is journaling. So I have picked out 30 journal prompts that I know I want to respond to. I will leave them on the screen as I journal. I will also type out every single prompt and leave it in the description box for you as well if you want to follow along or you want to pick a couple of prompts to do. I'm going to try to share some of my journal responses with you guys. I don't know how many I'll be able to share, but I will for sure pop in and have a little chat with you guys when I have a breakthrough or I have something insightful to share. Right now I'm feeling really optimistic. I'm really excited to see what I'll learn about myself, but I'm also a little bit nervous because I do know that working with your shadow can be uncomfortable. You definitely have to be vulnerable, and I'm kind of scared of the emotions that are gonna come up, but excited nonetheless. So we will see how this goes. I just finished my first shadow work prompt and I actually feel really good. I know that working with your shadow brings up a lot of darker emotions, but I don't really feel sad or angry. I don't really feel any intense emotions right now. Actually, I just feel neutral and I feel pretty good. I think that's because I did start off with a mild prompt just to ease myself in. I'm sure as the days and the weeks progress, my emotions will build up. The feelings and thoughts will pile up on each other as the prompts continue, but for now I'm feeling positive and optimistic. I'm really excited to see what I learn about myself. Even though 30 days is quite a long time to be doing shadow work, I feel like healing is a lifelong journey, so this is just another aspect of my healing journey. This is not going to be the entire thing. I'm not going to come out of here completely healed from all my trauma and my wounds. I'm not expecting that, but I am expecting some progress. I don't know how often I'm going to be doing these little check-ins, but I will see you guys the next time I have something insightful to say. Okay, so I have officially been doing shadow work for a week now. I've done 7 prompts, and even though it's been such a short amount of time, I do feel like I've learned a bit about myself when it comes to what aspects of my character that were taught to me versus what's actually true. So I've been having to kind of face that reality and unlearn that a little bit. Like, for example, one of the prompts I talked about how I've never really had a stable friendship group throughout my entire life really, and my family members, specifically like my mom, would tell me that I can't keep friends around, that I am unstable, I can't keep friendships. That's why I have different friends or different best friends every year. And for a long time I believed that, because part of it is true. I have different friends every year ever since I was little, but I don't think it's because I'm unstable or I'm rude or I can't keep friends. Maybe from an outside perspective that's what it looks like, but from all the friendships that I have lost or I just no longer talk to them, no beef, we just don't talk anymore, the friendship died out, whatever. It's not that I've even outgrown them, it's more that I don't know, I change my standards for friendship every year. I change my standards for the people that are in my life every year, and I know it's like not realistic for me to look for perfect friends. Everyone has their faults, but there are some things that I can look for and I can want in a friend, and I don't want to feel bad about it. So I guess I don't have many friends because I'm picky. Which is still different from what I was taught. It's not because I can't keep friends. It's not because people don't like me. It's simply because, I don't know, I have high standards and I'd rather be by myself than have friends that aren't the best for me. As I've grown older, I'm very comfortable with myself. I'm very comfortable with being alone. I like hanging out with myself. So to me, if someone can't give me something that I already do or give to myself, it's kind of like, I don't know, I'd just rather be alone. That was kind of a side tangent, but that's just one example of something that I've been having to unlearn. I've also noticed that I'm more mindful. Just throughout my daily life, I'll stop myself and think a little bit more, just be more mindful, kind of catch myself when I'm thinking something that traditionally isn't good for me, typically just like a negative thought. That is the update for 1 week. I'm feeling pretty good. I thought that more emotions would build up and I would feel differently. I thought I would feel angry or sad, not because I'm an angry or sad person, but just because these are darker prompts and I thought that would evoke some darker feelings, but I'm feeling pretty good. I'll update you guys when I have something new to share. I'm not even gonna lie, today's prompt got me. And now I'm kind of like, I don't know, I had to face a part of me that I actively suppress, parts of my past, things that I've done in the past that are just embarrassing or straight up cringy that I physically cringe at. And when I think about those things, the two main feelings that I get are regret and shame. Like when I did those things, I was the person that I was completely different from the person that I am now, and that's like so corny, I know, but when I think back to that person, it doesn't feel like me. It's so out of character for me now, and I hate that I made those mistakes to the point where I literally don't ever want to think about them. Being that I have multiple mental illnesses, my memory is not the best. Sometimes it's good because then I don't remember stuff like this, but if it's like deeply regretful and deeply shameful, I remember it and I try not to think about it because I just feel bad about myself. But I think this prompt kind of helped me with self-acceptance, radical acceptance, I guess. I don't have to be okay with it, but I should accept it because it's just part of the journey. And realistically, I think that self-acceptance is the most obtainable outcome here, so I'm working on it, but I don't love that part of me. I'm all for self-love, but I think that sometimes you can't just jump right into loving your mistakes. You have to accept them first. So I think that if I work on this self-acceptance stuff, self-love will follow. I think that I have a long way to go, but I don't think that this healing journey is impossible. I will get there. So I do want to be completely honest and transparent. There have been a couple of days where I skip my shadow work, not for days on end, but sometimes maybe once a week. There's one day where I just don't do shadow work, and that's simply because that day was just very overwhelming for me, and I didn't feel like I could handle a very heavy prompt on top of just the everyday emotions of just not feeling well. I do struggle mentally with mental health and mental disorders, and typically I would see a psychologist and a therapist for it. That's what I would usually do, but right now I'm not, for a multitude of reasons I don't want to get into right now. But some days I just have really heavy feelings, and I know that's because of the chemicals in my brain, and even though I'm on medication, some days it's just harder for me to just exist and get through the day. So yeah, just to be honest, I haven't been, you know, every single day doing my shadow work, but I try my best, and I will end up doing 30 days, but there have been 1 or 2 days where I just skipped it altogether. I was kind of giving myself a hard time about it at first. I was bummed out, but I learned to be more gentle with myself and to be nicer to myself and understand that things happen. And I think that in itself was a little bit of shadow work for me, because I am learning to be more gentle with myself and just not guilt myself so much. I deal with a lot of guilt when I don't do what I want to, because in my mind it's like breaking a promise to myself, but I need to let go of that guilt and forgive myself and be more gentle. So if you guys are doing this challenge and you are feeling a little bit overwhelmed, it's okay. It's okay to take a break. You can always come back to that prompt at a later time or even another day. Hello, today's check-in is going to be pretty quick. I had a lighthearted prompt today, so I don't feel heavy. Well, duh, if it's light, it's not heavy. Okay. Sometimes when I do these prompts and they're really heavy, I feel like I exited a therapy session where the thoughts kind of weigh down on me a little bit even after I'm done. So today was a lighthearted prompt. I don't feel like that. I feel very light. I feel good, which overall this experience has been good. I've been feeling good. Like I mentioned before, I thought I would feel a little bit more, I don't know, just sadder maybe, because I am working with the dark parts of me, but I don't feel that way, which is a little bit surprising. On days where I do have deeper prompts where I have to dig into some traumatic events, I feel more relieved after, which is a very nice feeling. It's a refreshing feeling, because before, when I would not necessarily do therapy or shadow work on my trauma, I would just think about it. Sometimes it just pops up back in my head like, hey, remember when this happened? When that would happen in the past, I would dwell on it for a very long time, but maybe it's because I'm physically like emptying something into my journal. I feel lighter and I feel relieved. I feel rejuvenated after. I hope I'm explaining that well. I talked about this in an earlier check-in. I feel a lot more mindful. I'm definitely checking myself even more throughout the day, not in an aggressive way at all or a bad way. I've definitely been able to catch myself when I start to create a negative mindset by dwelling on something that I did in the past, just thinking about the past too much or thinking about the present too much and getting in this stressful state of mind. I've been able to check myself and stop myself. Oh, something that I've been doing too, which isn't directly related to the shadow work, but I've been doing oracle card pulls from this deck. It's so pretty. This is the Work Your Light deck, and I've been doing pulls from here. It's been really helpful and insightful, and sometimes the cards that I pull will correlate directly with the prompt or what I wrote about, so it's very impressive. If you're interested, I'll link this one down below. I have officially done 30 days of shadow work. That was my 30th and last shadow work prompt for a minute, I think. I'm really glad that I did this exercise. Obviously, I've learned a lot about myself. I think that was a given. I think that was expected. But I also learned a lot about other people. I've known for a long time that I have toxic people around me. Not friends, because I don't have friends, but I'm talking about family, people that I'm kind of obligated to be around, obligated to see. And I know that it's really easy to be like, oh, well, just cut them off. Like, you're old enough, you don't need them. You don't need to tie yourself to toxic people. But as a child of immigrants, it's a different story. I think that that type of advice works for a certain group of people, but for the other group of people, it's not reasonable, it's not relatable, and it's not rational. That just isn't an option. And if you understand where I'm coming from, if you're also a child of immigrants or you are an immigrant yourself, you can't just cut off your family. There's that aspect of guilt that only very niche population of people would understand, but if you get me, you get me. So throughout this process, obviously I know that these people exist and I can't ignore them, I can't cut them off, but I've gotten better at handling situations when I'm around them. I think that I've learned a pretty decent amount of not coping mechanisms, but just ways to handle the situations and ways to make the experience more tolerable, because that's just what I have to do for now. And then in terms of myself, I learned that I suppress a lot of stuff. Not only trauma, but also just parts of me and things that I did that I just don't like. I think I did a check-in about this, but I actively suppress those things. I think I'm in a point in my healing journey now where I know I should just face those things head on, heal from them, and then move on, because the past is the past. And I'm not going to say that I'm grateful for the trauma that I experienced, because it shouldn't have happened, but as corny as it is, it truly did make me who I am today. I also learned that my healing journey is not over when this 30 days of shadow work is over, which I knew, but I kind of had this realization that this is work that I have to do my entire life. And I always say that healing is a lifelong journey, because it is, but I kind of had like a light bulb moment where I was like, oh, it really is a lifelong journey. I think from here on out, I'm only going to do shadow work when I feel called to it. That was kind of what I was doing before, but I think I'm going to do it more often, because before this exercise practice challenge thing that I did shadow work maybe once a week, sometimes once a month, but I think I should at least do it once a week. I'm really grateful for this experience, and I'm really glad that I did this. I think shadow work is kind of necessary for all people. That might be a controversial statement because some people don't believe that it's necessary, but in my opinion, it is. It's necessary to face the darkness and the suppressed trauma and the negative things, I guess, because there are a lot of people that go their entire lives without healing, and I feel like those people always end up angry or just unhappy or cranky all the time. I'm speaking from experience because I know people like this. If you're on a healing journey or a spiritual journey, I would recommend doing shadow work. Maybe not to this extent. I don't think you need to do 30 days consecutive, but give it a try. I think it could be really insightful. One thing that I do want to mention though is I feel like you do have to be kind of in a stable state of mind to do this, because you are bringing up trauma, just negative things in general, and that could be really triggering. And for some people, they could use that trigger as, you know, as shadow work to kind of work through it and grow from it. But other people, that trigger might send them into a spiral, so that's just something to be mindful of. If you need professional help, I recommend seeking out therapy. Some therapists even will do shadow work with you or kind of like assist you and guide you through it if you need that guidance and moral support. You guys probably also want to know how bringing up trauma and negative feelings every day affected me. I think I spoke about this in previous check-ins, but I was expecting to be more angry and just more upset and maybe like, not like depressed, because I don't want to use that word lightly, but that wasn't always the case. Obviously some days some certain like very deep and triggering prompts would stay with me all day, or I would think about them into the following days. But it wasn't like that with every prompt. I think I mentioned this before, but with most of the heavy prompts I actually felt relief. Like I felt like I was releasing something. I felt lighter and I felt just pure relief after. It felt good to get these things off of my chest, and because I was being so vulnerable and honest in my journal, there was no filter. It was everything that I had ever thought about or wanted to say about the situation just on paper, and no one had to read about it other than me. So it was a liberating experience. That's the word. It was very liberating, and that's why I didn't share exactly what I had written. At the beginning of this video I wanted to, but it got really personal and vulnerable, and to be honest I was just uncomfortable with sharing that on the internet. I'm not there yet with how comfortable I am online, but hopefully in the future I will be. Maybe I'll open up a little bit more about the things that I actually went through and I actually wrote down in my journal. But I actually tried to read one of the entries on camera one time, and it was bad. You could tell that I was uncomfortable, and I know there's no growth in comfort, but I have boundaries still, and I was trying to test a boundary that wasn't ready to be pushed yet. So maybe one day, but not today. I'm sorry. So overall, it was a really great experience. I'm really glad that I did this for myself, and I'm glad that I stuck through with it for 30 days. I really recommend it if you have wanted to try something like this before, if you want to really catapult your healing journey or your spiritual journey. With what I've learned through this entire process, this entire practice, I have some changes to make in my life to further me on this healing journey. I'm really excited to make those changes because I feel like that will help me flourish. And being honest with myself in this journal for 30 days, I was able to self-reflect a lot. Would I do this again? Absolutely. Maybe not for 30 days, maybe I'll try for like 2 weeks, but I would do it, and I recommend you try it out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you all for joining me on this little journey of mine. I really appreciate you just listening and being here. If you liked this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. I love you all so much. Happy New Year. I'm sending you guys so much love, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!